Alexander County Veteran Service Officer, and today I am with Terry Harrington. Terry, tell us a little bit about yourself, your date of birth, where you were born, and the community where you live.
I was born 5 December 66, Alexander County Hospital, and I grew up in the Sugarloaf community up until after high school.
Okay, and what did you do prior to joining the military?
Actually, I was still in high school. I was a junior, and I joined and went to basic training in my summer of my junior year.
Oh, okay. How did you feel about the military when you joined?
I like the history, and you know, I've got kin people was in the Civil War. Both my grandfathers was in World War II. My dad was in Vietnam 3 years, and you know, I just felt like it was when I had the opportunity, I felt like, hey, that's something I need to do.
Right. So you actually volunteered when you were still in high school. To what branch of service were you in?
As Army. Joined the Army Guard and Taylorsville Unit, the 505th. And after I got out of high school, switched MOSs or jobs and went infantry and went to a drill instructor unit, and then I transferred from there to a transportation unit, combat support. And then from there it was deployments and active duty and
all over.
Yeah.
So you were actually in the Guard and the Reserves most of the time, but you served a lot of active duty with your deployments.
Right. Yeah, I've got a total right at 8 years, 7 something. I'd have to look at my 214. It's 28 and a half total years.
Okay. What was the highest rank that you achieved?
E7.
Okay.
Sergeant First Class.
So where all did you serve overseas?
First 2 deployments was Iraq, Operation Iraqi Freedom 2 and 3, which was Balad Air Base, Saddam's biggest air base between Baghdad and Tikrit, was where you could, what we called home. It felt funny, but hey, that's where we laid our head down once in a while.
Right.
This last time was a split. We went in Operation Enduring Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom, and we closed out Iraq. We run gun truck escorts for the convoys coming out, and then turned in all of our gear and got refitted to go to Afghanistan, and that's when I got medevaced.
Okay. What did you envision the military to be like after you joined? Were you surprised? Were you just kind of
yeah, I was surprised about how the guys that I went in with, a lot of them had been in Vietnam, so you know, they scared to death because you're coming straight out of basic, and then you go to your MOS school, and then you get put to a unit. You're like, man, these guys been in the combat and stuff like this, and you know, you're scared to speak, or it's kind of like being back in basic training again when you first get to the unit. It was for me.
Right. Where was your basic training?
I went in the summer of my junior year. I went to Fort Jackson, South Carolina. They called it Tank Hill. And then toward the end, they moved us into a new barracks, but we was in the old Tank Hill right there. I guess it was World War II still barracks.
Right, where it was really cool in the summertime.
Yeah, we marched everywhere. It's not like today. You know, you see cattle cars and stuff. We marched to the ranges.
Right.
I mean, we marched to graduation. There was people passing out.
Oh, mercy.
For the heat.
Do you remember anything specific about basic training? Were you nervous, scared, excited, or?
I really liked it. I mean, you got to do stuff. I mean, to me, it's like stuff you always want to do anyhow as a boy growing up. I mean, you're taught weapons, and the hardest thing was staying awake because you'd been in World War II barracks during classes after you've done got up, finished PT, you went to chow, and as soon as you eat chow, you're pushed off these classes, and you know, there's no air conditioning. You've got your sleeves bloused, and you're sitting there and everybody's got the Sandman hitting them in the back of the head. That was the hardest thing I think was staying awake. And I've got the album from Basic, and you can see a lot of the guys weary-eyed. It's it's crazy.
Do you remember any of your instructors, and if you do, what stands out about them?
Oh yeah, I ain't forget them cats. My senior drill was Sergeant First Class Butler, and I was like 6'1.5" in there, and I looked up to him, and everything was precise and crisp. Everything he done, all movements, the whole time he's talking, everything. And then we had a younger one, Drill Sergeant Mack. Butler, you know, he's on your tail. You messed up, but I seen him actually square away some other DIs before, because he wasn't with us at the time, and they made us back up for chow so their guys could go in. He went in and squared that away because we was chalked to be in first.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you know, you respected that because he wasn't afraid to do the right thing.
Right. Did you make friends while you were in the military, and do you still keep in touch?
Yeah, gosh, you make so many. Well, it's more than friends. You know, especially when you deploy, that's your family. And it's like, you know, when you're getting shot at, or your buddy or somebody else is, for me and a lot of them ones I talk to, you know, it makes you mad at first because they're trying to kill your family. I mean, it's after it's all over and done with and everything's back to what you call normal for there, that you get the what ifs and the shakes, or that's what it was for me. You know, it just happens so fast you don't think.
Right.
And that's a good thing because you sit and debate about things and you're going to be dead.
Right, right. What did you think of your officers?
You might want to turn that off.
You can say it.
Well, yeah, I can't tell you. I had some good ones. Most of the time, the ones I had was prior NCOs. They were enlisted.
Right.
But you know, as a NCO, your officers, you know, coming in, you butter bars or second lieutenants, and it's your job to train them to be platoon leaders and then company commanders. You know, help them out. And you get the ones that come in and say, "Hey, I'm here to help you guys. What do I need to do?" But then you get the ones that's in their 30s that come in. They think they know everything, and they want to be hua and get into combat and do stupid stuff so they can get them a combat patch or ribbon and put other people in harm's way. And then they think, you know, they don't have to listen to you, even though you respect the rank. The person behind the rank might be acting like an idiot.
Right, right. What was your job in the military? I know you had several, but just kind of explain a little bit about each one if you don't mind.
The first one was engineers. It was vertical and horizontal. I guess that's what Taylorsville still is. They had like the road crews and then the ones that actually built the structures. When I went infantry, I mean, that's just like everybody here is. We was actually infantry. We wasn't mechanized or nothing. We was walking
Boots
where we went.
Boots on the ground.
Right, yeah, that's right. And then I went transportation. We hauled everything. We was combat unit, so we hauled everything for the front lines. But from my first deployment on, we always run support. I mean, we was running gun trucks, so you know, it's always been right there and was outside the wire every day. Our guys, some of them was the squad and stuff I was in. We were in combat more days than our line units, which is the infantry, the mechanized guys. They'd go out and set up a TCP or traffic control point checking IDs. Well, they went out after daylight and stuff, you know, and set it up. We was out rolling at 03 every morning until up 10 at night. And then if you're down, you get hit, and you know you're dead in the water.
What was your most memorable experience? I know you have a lot, but can you just pick out one of the many?
Yeah, my first action, I guess you would call it, or ambush, was Easter Sunday. Well, I can't remember what, it was Easter. We were leaving, was going down to Babylon. I had General Batiste, first ID general, with us, and he was my front gun truck. And he got ambushed about 10 o'clock that night. It was crazy. I mean, we was going along, and all of a sudden the lights went out on the grid, and then it wasn't just a few seconds after I hollered up, and told the front gun what we could see. We were setting up a little bit higher than they were, and RPG hit his Hummer right then, and IED went off, and we got hit with 2 RPGs. Well, his Hummer was dead in the water, and we couldn't go nowhere. They were hitting us from 3 different positions, but we didn't know at that time till the rear gun called up. The 50 cal went down in the front, so we dismounted, run up, try to see what was going on, if we can get the vehicle running out of the way or what, plus, see who was hurt. Just luckily it didn't hurt anybody in there, but it punctured a hole in the radiator. So while we were still getting shot at small arms and they was covering for us, me and my A driver stuck rags up in the radiator like a trucker plug, and loosened the cap and put a bunch of water in it because it'd run hot. Is what happened. He didn't go far, and it shut the engine off. So that helped us get out of the kill zone. We got back to our truck. It was still on fire on the back left side, but we got out of there. I mean, we put it in 4-wheel drive and come on out. But it was crazy. We got into a little 82nd Airborne check station, and they were still shooting at us because it wasn't far down the road. It was just barely big enough to drive in, and that's the one I remember most because it was the first.
Scary situation. Were there any casualties at all from your unit?
Yeah, we lost a captain. We was up at we called it Belarus. It was up toward the northeast, about 5 clicks from the Iranian border. Every time you went through that town, you was getting shot at constantly. It didn't matter if you tried to bypass it or go through the center of it. He was stepped out of a Hummer, I believe, and stopped and stepped out to direct some fire, and he got killed. One of the guys, the luckiest shot on the Bradley you can get, in the wearing the periscope, and the RPG went in there and hit some HE rounds, high explosive rounds, and it detonated inside the Bradley. We had a female that got hit on our first movement down. We had a few.
Now, did you have combat medics with you, or y'all were all just self-aid buddy care?
It was, well, I tried to get all of my guys combat lifesavers, and then we could do more than your first responders. I mean, we give trachs, tubes, IVs, everything. I mean, it's, call in, you know what I'm talking about. You had to call in, dust off and everything. We done it all. Later on, we got an actual medic, but you only got one, for a convoy, but that convoy might be 3 miles long. So it's, I tried to make one in every truck when we got a chance, switch them out and send them to that school. So I'd at least have one in every truck.
That was a smart thing to do. What weapons were you assigned to?
We had sidearm was a 9mm, and M16s. I had saws. I had 240 Bravos, which took the place of the old M60. We had 950 cals, and M4s, short M16.
Okay. Describe like one day in your life over there, just like an everyday occurrence kind of thing.
If we was in the fob, it was, depending on what time we were leaving that morning, most of our stuff was 3 o'clock or earlier. We'd get up like, 0, 0, 0, 0, and start, we'd try to prep our trucks and stuff the day before, water, ice, and the only ice we had was, we allocated a couple deep freezers off some other convoys that was going to somewhere some officers needed it, but hey, we needed something too because we didn't have anything. Our tents didn't even have sides on them.
Oh dear.
And we got some deep freezers, and I wired them up to. We went to the boneyard and got a generator, and I wired it up to it so we could have frozen water. So we went and allocated a forklift and would get pallets of water from some of our other buddies. I mean, it's like a drug deal, but we wasn't dealing drugs. We're swapping what we needed to be on convoys. And you know, we'd get up, everything would be on the trucks. We the day before we had our pre-combat checks, so the in the morning we got up and we done them again. Each team leader would check his guys, and then I'd get, you know, I couldn't check all of them because I was going and getting the S1 brief. Oh, and we'd be online waiting, you know, and then get all your gun trucks and whatever other greens or military trucks that was going with you. And then we would go, leave out, push forward, and we would pick up the whites, which were the contractor trucks, and escort them. They was local nationals or Pakistani, Afghani, Saudi Arabia, Iraqi, wherever they were hired to drive, and there was the little white day cab Mercedes trucks with flatbeds and drop decks, and they would put them in with us, and we'd take them wherever we was going, and we'd offload or download. I mean, we run the Dragon Express, is what they called it, where we'd hit all the fobs, and like one day they told us we'd be gone 3 days, and we were gone 18 days. You know, you leave the wire in the morning, you leave. We didn't, back then, they didn't have the mine sweepers. We used to see some engineer 5-ton dumps and 13-ton or something going down the road with hillbilly armor on the sides of them. But, you know, like they would tell us, you know, you're your mine sweepers, because when you drive by, something went off, you always called it up. So the next convoy knew where it was at and what was coming. Blue Force trackers and jammers was, you had to request that back then. You know, we didn't even have paint on our Hummers, much less armor.
Was the food good? Did you have enough to eat?
Well, we mostly lived off MREs. Once in a blue moon, you'd go to a fob that had a DFAC, a dining facility, and you could send like one of your gun trucks over there to pick up chow for everybody. A lot of times they didn't want us in there. They said we were too dirty, but hey, we was on the road. I mean,
what do they expect? So your living conditions when you were on the road, you know, how did you sleep? I mean, did you sleep in your truck, under your truck, or? Yeah,
depending on where we was at or what fob. I mean, it just got to where, you know, they wanted you to run to a bunker, but their bunker was a Connex with aircraft pallets laid up against it, or, you know, a container. The stateside they call them containers. And I told them I ain't running in that. That's more shrapnel. We'd sleep on the trucks, around the trucks, because your vest is only bulletproof. It's not mortar-proof. I mean, we just get so tired of, you're tired, so you get tired of getting up and going somewhere. You just stayed put.
So where did you bathe, or did you?
5-gallon jug and your buddy hold it on you, or wipes most of the time. Your clothes was white from the salts. You just, I mean, you could stand them up.
How did you keep in touch with people back home?
If you went to a FOB or forward operation base that had comms, if you had time, by the time you come in, dropped your convoy off, and they'd offload it or whatever, you could go, they had some phones and some computers, but they were in maintenance tents, and it went from there to a satellite dish, fed up a couple satellites, and come down somewhere in Virginia. I forgot where they said they was tied to, and hit a landline. Well, they worked as long as they were cool enough, and then if someone was killed, it didn't matter what fob you was at, they were down for 72 hours to notify the next of kin. So if you got one that was probably working, it was probably shut off because of that. Most of the time it was hard copy or letters we wrote.
How did you handle being away from home and family? Or did you have a chance to think about it, really? Well,
you do, but you got something to do there, and if you get sidetracked, you know, you might miss something, or you might see something that save one of your guys, or, you know, I just tried to put it off my mind, you know. It's just, the only time we really got to, you know, let your hair down. So, okay, we crossed the border back out of Iraq into Kuwait, the country, down at Kuwait City. We drop our convoys off there at customs, you know, and then we could take a weapon down and come down, the gunner could come down, you know, we can loosen our vests and stuff and, you know, get some air. Well, actually, I told my guys to take them off because there's nothing happening in Kuwait. I mean,
Right.
you know, this is like Kuwait. There's nothing there.
Right.
But as soon as you cross that border, you better have, you know, it's game on.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, they had crazy things. You wanted you to be in shirts at all times. And we didn't, you know, your blouse.
Right.
You know, we didn't even, people were going out in their vehicles, passing out. I mean, we had more people passing out than we could spare. You know, I mean, you tell them, hey, when we leave the fob, take your blouses off, cool off.
Right.
But this last deployment was a lot different. These guys had up-armored everything. Everything was air-conditioned, but, hey, it wasn't for the soldier. It was for the equipment on the inside because it cost so much money. But that was, hey, we would use the air conditioner. I didn't care who it was for.
Exactly. What did you do for fun or during leave, or did you have any leave?
Yeah, that was wild. I got to come home, I think, Christmas. I think that's right, this last deployment. I don't know how it come down, but we'd done closed Iraq out, and we were turning our gear in after the first of the year and all of our gun trucks and guns and stuff. And yeah, I got to spend Christmas at home because I've spent a lot of Christmases away from home,
Right.
Birthdays and stuff, you know. But it's just another day when you're gone, and because I don't know how to explain it, your mind is where you're at.
Right.
You worry about your family and stuff at home, but if you want to get back home, you try to keep that fog out of your head and do what you got to do over there.
Right. Did you receive any awards or decorations for your time in the military?
Yeah, I can't remember what they all are. I guess the highest one was a Bronze Star, V, and then, gosh, I can't remember, Expeditionary medals and stuff, Southwest Asian medals, then your two operations, Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom. Purple Heart's still pending. It got caught up and the paperwork got gone from the first time, and now they've resubmitted it, so I'm waiting on that. But I just can't remember all of them.
I'm sure it's a lot. And since you just got out, I'm assuming you still have your uniform and
Oh yeah.
mementos and things like that from your time.
Yeah, uniform don't fit as good in the belly. I've gained about 20 pounds now.
No, it shrinks in the closet. Have you not heard that?
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Yeah.
If you hang it outside, it'll be okay. Just don't hang it in the closet.
It's too late.
What's it been like since you've come home from the deployment?
To me, it's been hard because I can't get used to not being able to do what I used to do. It's, you know, and it just seems like it's a uphill struggle. You know, like molasses in the winter time. Sometimes I felt like, you know, he's going down the Titanic holding on to a broom straw. I mean, it's the system. And right before I had getting ready to have my surgeries on my lower S1s, you know, 2 days before that, you know, they changed the legislature, so they was putting everyone out that was in the Wounded Warrior, which I was assigned to Camp Pendleton Wounded Warrior. And if it's not life or limb, DOD was putting everyone out that's not service or, you know, qualified for service. And they were not going to spend the money on surgery, so I had to start over. Well, it took a year to get discharged.
Right.
And now I've started over with the VA.
Okay. Now, when you went into the military, I assume you weren't married, but you got married during the time that you were in the military.
Yeah.
Now, do you have children?
Yeah, we have. We've got 4 children, and one's 26 with a grandbaby that was born while I was gone. Got a 21-year-old goes to school. We've got a 20-year-old that's in the Marines, and we have a 16-year-old that's second year at high school this year, which she's been in ROTC since she got out there, and she outranked her brother in ROTC, so she tells him that.
Probably don't go over too well.
No, and he comes home, it's funny, but she said, I was in longer than you was, but she's wanting to go in the Navy, so I hope that gets to happen for her too.
But the other two weren't interested in the military at all?
Nah. Not really.
Okay. And your occupation since leaving the military, were you able to go back to work, or?
No, I wish. It's been, like I said, it's been a fight just to get, what you needed done after my first surgeries, and it's just been drag out. I mean, it takes, I just feel like, from my experience, if it's not an amputee or a bullet hole, well, they kind of slowed down, but they did hurry up and do my neck because it was on my spinal cord, and they told me I could have been paralyzed, but hey, they didn't catch it overseas, so we're still running missions.
Right.
Until I got to where I couldn't move anymore. When you can't lift your arm, or they think you're having a stroke, and that's when they finally sent me home.
Right. Now, are you active, or do you belong to any of the veterans organizations?
Well, I ain't gonna talk. You know. I try to go to I've joined the DAV and the VFW. I'm trying to spend my time starting to help those guys, but because my time since I've been home, I like a doctor appointment every day. Some days I had 3 doctor appointments. Today I went to 3 different places, and that's all I seem like I get done.
Right. And you said earlier that your family members and ancestors, you have a long history of military service in your family.
Yeah. Now you gotta call me on this. I think it's my great uncle. I think that's right. Was the old, at one time he was the last Civil War veteran in the county, and at one time he was the oldest Civil War veteran.
Oh.
And then both my grandfathers on the Harrington and the George side was in World War II. And Dad, like I said, he was in Vietnam for he was 3 years. And I just felt like I'd rather be doing it than anybody I know doing it.
Right.
And I don't know how to explain the feeling. For me, it's, I'd still be doing it today. I would rather, I'd rather be doing in a firefight than actually dealing with what I'm doing right now, because you don't feel like you got any control.
Right.
Or you can't make it better, or I don't know. I just always push. I try to keep going on. I can't settle for what they tell me. I'm gonna do something else.
Okay. Well, and sometimes that's a good thing. What would you say to the youth today interested in the military?
Well, if the youth was mine, like I've told mine, unless you're going to college, and I know a lot, that doesn't help a lot. There are a lot of unemployed college graduates. Not every person in the military is a combat MOS or job. There's support, there's quartermaster, what have you. Everybody thinks like, because you go in the Marines or the Army, you're the first ones. Well, that's not necessarily true.
Right.
Like some Marines guard embassies. Some Marines are at nuke sites.
Right.
Some Army does the same thing, guarding forts. It's what you want to be. It's now if you settle and volunteer for a combat MOS, yeah. More than likely that you're going to get what you wish for. But nowadays, it's supposed to be drawing down and all, but I know that they were Marines in Iraq here not long ago, and they're probably still there at the guarding some of our personnel that's there. But like I said, you got a combat mission and role. You're going to be in combat. They don't train you to hang out at the house.
Right.
And a lot of those guys, that's what they want to do, especially up and coming young guys. But if you don't know what you want to do, that's something you can be doing until you figure it out. You have a job, you have insurance, you got your clothing, your chow, which I know they charge Ross and them. That's the reason I know, because his was like $600 a month for chow. I couldn't believe it.
Oh dear.
I believe that's right. Yeah, 300 per pay period, yeah. So I just never been charged for chow. I couldn't hardly believe that.
Right.
But I mean, you know, you got your insurance, but to me, if I was single and just getting out of high school, I'd do it all over again. I'd make a lot of different choices.
Right.
But hey, I mean, to me, I got friends, the family and stuff. A lot of his classes went to Marines. Some went to the Army. His friend right now, Dallas Cawthorn, he's a aviation mechanic. And he's got another school to go to. Then, you know, he's working on fixed wing or rotor, whatever. I mean, it's whatever you want to do.
Right.
You don't have to go to combat.
Right.
Just for the word Army, Marines, or Air Force, or anything. You know, that doesn't mean you're a combat unit.
There's a lot of people, probably more back home doing the support role than there is
or overseas.
Actually,
I mean,
doing the
Hawaii,
work.
Europe.
Well, do you have anything else you would like to say, or anything you'd like to add?
No, I just appreciate all the veterans that's way before me. You know, since the Revolutionary on. I mean, you know, it's till you get there, and you know, I've not been where they've been, but I've been bad enough for me. And I know, like World War I and II, you know, people don't have a clue in the States that's stayed here, that's never had to pick up a weapon, you know, or till you see her, and like I said, that's your family. Even if they're even not in your unit. And like I said, we flew with some bodies a couple of times, and you know, and had to get people up and stuff, and it's your family, you know. And everyone I know that I've talked to and that's been around me, I'd rather be fighting in another country than fighting here.
Absolutely.
Because Americans, they don't even recognize a construction crew on the side of the road. They're too occupied with the kids in the back, the makeup, the coffee, the cell phone. I've seen people, computers. Listen, if they'd ever get the means here, it'd be bad. But I mean, I just hope everybody, like when you see a veteran, especially the older ones, because they're going about hundreds a week, I guess, for the World War II guys. You know, thank them, because I try to every time I see one, especially with their headgear on, you know, or a jacket or something. I make it a point to go thank them. And I have kids thanking me at church. I don't thank me, you know. I don't feel like you know, I haven't done anything special for that. But I have a lot of veterans at my church that are World War II, high school deal. He's one of the oldest ones, I guess, there. You know, people every day you talk to and you find out they're veterans, it just blows my mind, you know. Shields Jolly, I mean, there's so many at the high school was, and there's out there now. I didn't know Chris Bowman was. I didn't know Bobby Sipe was. I mean, you feel tied to those people.
Right.
Especially when you talk to them. And that's one of the reasons I like the DAV. My grandfather was one of the original ones that started this chapter out here on my mama's side, Grandpa George. And I feel like, you know, he would want me doing that, you know.
Right.
And to help the ones that's there now. To me, that's what it is, because I can't do it another way.
Right.
But, yeah, I think the kids nowadays, I wish they all got to go for a while to get a little bit of respect for their elders, and some of them doesn't understand that, and their teachers especially.
Right.
But that's all I know would tell them. Boy, I'd like to talk to them about it.
Well, Terry, I want to thank you for talking to us, and thank you for sharing, and thank you for your service.
Well, thank you for yours.